the Hawks traded. They traded back 10 spots. New Orleans sent them an unprotected 2026 first rounder, which is the highest between New Orleans and the Milwaukee Bucks of next year. That has a lot of value. We don't know what Milwaukee's going to look like.
Fair.
Do they eventually trade Giannis? What if Giannis misses a ton of games and tank? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if the team's just not good? What if New Orleans gets injured again and they're not good?
Please, God,
you know
no.
what I'm saying? God willing, of course.
no.
But, basically Atlanta got 10 spots back, probably got the guy they've always wanted, because I feel like Asa Newell has been linked to Atlanta for a couple months now. And then they got a valuable 2026 first-round pick. I think that stuff like that. Plus, you get to keep guys like Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson's coming back this year. I believe they're going to bring Karis LeVert back, Onyeka, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit later, but they end up getting Kristaps Porzingis, which I think if he's healthy, that's really huge for that team. So Atlanta, a team that we thought was kind of going to be in that little middle ground, could be a sneaky team in the East, made a good selection, ended up getting a 2026 first-round pick that they could dangle in a trade to bring in a star if they need to, or a high-profile role player, a high-level, low-end all-star of that value. So for me, I think Atlanta definitely aced the draft, because they really didn't have to do much. That pick really fell into their lap. I feel like New Orleans called them, and they didn't. They was just like, all right, shit, we'll get it. And then they got Asa Newell, who I think is going to be a good player.
Last pick in the teens that I want to talk about that I really loved was Jace going to the Orlando Magic.
That was one of my winners, too.
Oh, facts. No, the fact that Jace was able to fall to the Magic at that spot, that is a player exactly that the Magic needed. A point guard that could shoot the ball at an insane clip the way that he can, off the catch, off the dribble. He can do it either which way. Solid playmaker. I guess the one thing you could talk about is his defense, but even still, that's a work in progress. I thought that was one of the best value picks of the first round. I talked about when we did our mock, when P was on the show a few weeks ago. I really liked him as a prospect. I thought he went to the perfect destination. He's going to get burned off that bench. And again, because of the need at three-pointer, because of the need for the three ball in Orlando, and on top of the fact they still do need a point guard, I think that was an obvious match.
They just traded Cole, so that was dope too.
No, for sure.
I think that Jace went to the perfect team because he's a smaller guard. He's 6 foot with like a 6'4", he's 6 foot with a 6'6" wingspan, if I'm not mistaken, closer to 6'1". And he's gonna be a small guard, and even if he tries on defense, there's gonna be a mismatch. But Orlando has the bodies in place to mask that, and he is exactly what they need offensively, just with how well he could shoot the ball. Jace last season with Michigan State, 41% from three,
amazing.
But he shot 46% on his catch and shoot jump shots. So he could play off the ball, I think, in a much better fashion than Cole Anthony can, and he can be hyper efficient. And I think just their offseason of adding Desmond Bane and Jace Richardson was just A+ in terms of needs and what you needed for the team.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I think if Jace Richardson was in a draft last year, he would have been a top 10 pick. If Reed Shepherd went 3rd overall, if Rob Dillingham went with the 8th pick, I mean, I don't see why Jace couldn't be a top 10 pick in the draft.
Makes you wonder.
So think about it.
No, I'm with you.
The Magic essentially drafted a player that would have been a top 10 pick last year.
We're here.
I
agree
with you. I agree
we
with
just
you.
laughed at a name you said. It was
no, it's just the minute you go Reed Shepherd, Rob Dillingham, me and Riv immediately look at each other.
Interesting. Another winner I would like to say is not a player, is a person. Cedric Coward, man. I want to just talk about his story a little bit. Just going from a Division III basketball school where he was paying $25K a year to go to. Then he ended up at Eastern Washington in the Big Sky. Played a sophomore year, played 34 games. Then he played 32 games, got a jump in minutes at 31 minutes. Averaged 15 a game with 7 rebounds, 2 assists. Ends up transferring to Washington State, a place where Jalen Wells went to. Jalen Wells was on the Memphis Grizzlies last year. Senior year, only played 6 games. This guy only played 6 games, averaged 18 and 7, showed a lot of promise, ends up being drafted. Not only drafted in the top 20, a team trading up for him. Being a lottery pick, I think that right there deserves winners for. I thought it was a good pick for Memphis because he was one of the teams I mocked him to. I thought he'd fit right into Memphis culture. But just for him to go through that journey, kind of same thing with Jalen Wells, and be able to understand like his ability and to be able to work hard and believe in himself. Only playing 6 games, and he still was, he went 11? I think they traded up for him to be 11 or 12. So, shout out to Cedric Coward. And then Thomas Sorber is another winner for me. Going to OKC. I thought that was elite because now like you have your perfect Isaiah Hartenstein replacement. I think defensively, him next to Chet is going to be a monster, and I think offensively, he can give you some things in the post. Like he's a good rebounder. He understands spatial awareness. He knows when to convert putbacks. He's a very good at contesting rebounds. He's a willing shooter. He's not a good shooter, but he's willing. And, if he's willing, you can work on that. But I just think, like, for him, his age, he really is a just extremely talented big that has a lot of tools to his game. And I think for OKC, grabbing him was huge.
Can I ask you a question? Because you mentioned trading Isaiah not trading the next Isaiah Hartenstein replacement.
Yeah.
Do you think that the Thunder try and move Isaiah Hartenstein this offseason?
Maybe not this one, but I think Second Apron starts to call your name. And like Brad Stevens said yesterday, he was like, he didn't realize it was that bad until he was staring at the Second Apron and they had to make moves. This shit is legit. It's for real. And until it catches up to you, you don't really know it. I think for OKC,
you got one more year with him, you're saying?
Yeah, and plus there's a team option. His team option's next offseason at $30 million.
This is his final year. If the Thunder want to decline his team option after this upcoming season, it's going to happen.
That's pretty great.
And I think Chet's going to get paid. J-Dub's going to get paid. SGA's going to get an extension. So you're going to have to start looking more into these rookies that are going to be a lot cheaper. That's all.
Do you think – I think I say that mostly because obviously he is making 30.
Yeah.
I think that he still does have a good amount of value in this league. But making 30 – does that make teams a little bit hesitant to try and make a move for a big like that? Like, what would his value be? Would they be able to get some that would be, let me not say equal to him, but you can get a young piece, a young center that you're not paying now $30 million to Isaiah Hartenstein. You still have a big off the bench that you can go to. You mentioned drafting Sorber. I agree with you. I thought that was a great selection. But is that the smarter route because these big contracts are looming over your head, or would you rather just wait the season?
I think Hartenstein got overpaid because the Thunder had a plethora of cap space. I don't think that he's going to get paid $30 million on the open market. I think he's more of like a $20 million center. Basically what Daniel Gafford just got with Dallas, I think that's kind of his market. Even though I think he's slightly better than Daniel Gafford, but same kind of tier of centers. I think OKC just drafted him, Thomas Sorber, that being, to be the long-term option after Hartenstein. And just to add size, I think he's ready to play right now, but he's probably going to sit a year. And I can't just say enough how much I love this pick. He's 6'9", so he's undersized, but he has a 7'6" wingspan. So he has very long arms, and he has
J-Dub.
9'1" standing reach.
Jesus Christ.
Georgetown was 18.6 points better on defense with him on the court. He's somebody that, he can turn around your defense, and OKC added an elite defender to an already all-time elite defense. So I think this just gives OKC options. If they want to pay Shea, J-Dub, and Chet, which we all know that's what they want to do, that's their goal, then these other role players are going to have to get cut. And that's Hartenstein. They paid Caruso and have him on an extension. So it's players like Hartenstein, it's players like Isaiah Joe or Aaron Wiggins, who they're both making $10 million each per year, so it's not a lot of money. But it's those players, those role players. It's a potentially a Lou Dort as well.
Yeah.
Like those players that are on the bubble where they want to keep their big three, and everybody else, as they pay those guys, those are going to be the guys that end up going in the long run.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what they do.
Cedric Coward was a good shout, though, because I feel like his ceiling is potentially like what Desmond Bane brought to them. If Cedric Coward could develop into like the best version of himself, he's 6'5" with a 7'2" wingspan. So, he's the same height as Desmond Bane, but he has much longer arms, and he can defend. He can shoot. He shot 40% from three in like all his years in college.
Crazy pull, but he reminds me of Luol Deng with a jump shot.
Like, that would be a great get, and we know that they needed a two guard. Like, after trading away Bane, they got KCP.
Because Wells is locked. 3.
Yeah, but KCP is not like the long-term answer. So I think Cedric Coward's good, and he bloomed in a small school. He didn't play that many games this past season, but he has the tools, and he really stood out in the combine when they measured him, and they were like, wow, he's 6'5", with a 7'2" wingspan. All the athletic measurements checked out for him, and that's why he became an even more intriguing prospect at that spot.
I will say KCP going to Memphis, I think that he's going to get a lot more easier looks than he did in Orlando. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a great season next year.
Also, like the toughness he brings too. I feel like that's what they've been vying for. A veteran that can bring that. I thought they thought they were going to get it in Marcus Smart. They didn't. I feel like KCP kind of brings that like dog mentality, champion. Just been everywhere.
I get what you're saying. Yeah,
won twice. been everywhere, played with some greats. Just bringing in that veteranship. I think Memphis was lacking in that. That's what made them prior, and I feel like he can come in and he could definitely help them with that.
You're moved on Memphis?
Moved in terms of what?
I don't know, man. You've been very high on Memphis in the past, and I'm just curious.
But they definitely won't have a better record than the Spurs.
I'm openly delusional about Memphis, and that's
Memphis or Spurs next year?
Memphis.